Hey team, Will Cobb here, and welcome to another Film Friend Fridays. We are back from a little bit of a break, and I just wanted to talk with you guys before we get started today about what's going on over here in the One Will Cobb YouTube channel sphere. I just wanted to say how thankful I am for everybody supporting me on Instagram, supporting me on this channel, and there's been a lot of watching on some of the older videos that I've posted a few months back. I do have a lot that I want to work on in the pipeline for you guys. A lot's been going on in my personal life. Me and Savannah's weekends have been filling up with a few things, as well as, trying to maintain our business and shoot some weddings as well. So that's kind of what's been going on my weekends. And I haven't been able to reach out to too many people for interviews for this show, as well as doing explorative content for you guys on the other videos. Another big piece of news is we are going to possibly be moving in the next couple of months. And that's going to be a big change where hopefully I can have a studio where I can keep stuff set up and come and talk to you guys, talk about film, and share a couple of the other things that I'm going to be working on too. So I hope that you guys are okay with a little bit of a transition here. I'm going to go to bi-weekly every other week for Film Friend Fridays. I know it's kind of a bummer for trying to keep up with consistent content for you guys, but I know that that's what I can handle right now, and I hope you guys can still enjoy that content. There's going to be a lot more coming in the future, and I really have a great vision for Film Friends as well as this YouTube channel. Just a little bit of patience, just like the election. A little bit of patience will go a long way for what's coming down the pipeline with me. Again, same reason if you've seen me a little bit quieter on Instagram, that's also what's going on there too. So let's get into the interview with Nathan Hirschler. So what's up, Nathan? How's it going?
Hey, how are you?
Good, man. Good. Dude, thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man.
Yeah. One of the very first, the first Film Friend Fridays guys recommended you, Parker Milliken.
Okay, yeah. I've talked to him a few times now. He's a really cool guy, so.
Yeah. So he reached out and was like, dude, I think, are you like Matt Day's intern or something like that right now?
I am, yeah.
Yeah, so he heard about you from that, and then he was like, dude, you got to interview this guy. He's doing some awesome film photography, and then, he got in with Matt Day. And so, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Also, tell me how to pronounce your last name.
All right, so my last name is pronounced Hirshcler.
Hirschler, okay, so cool.
I'm not 17 anymore. I have to break that habit. I just turned 18 a week ago, but I've been doing photography for 4 years now. It just kind of started when I was hanging out with my friends. They were into photography, and I was like, well, maybe I'll get into it too. And it turned out I really got into it, like almost to the point where I'm more into it than they are. But yeah.
So you got into the photography. What got you into film photography?
So what got me into film photography, I was scrolling through YouTube one day, and I stumbled across young Willem's. I guess I can't say young because he's older than me, but I stumbled across one of Willem's videos, and I watched it, and then it took me into watching more of his videos, and then I was like, this looks really interesting. And it's funny because I've lived in Chillicothe my whole life. Obviously, Matt lives in Chillicothe, but I had never really considered Matt a feasible option to learn from and talk to, because I had just never seen his work somehow. I was not in that specific photography community. So I remember meeting him in Roast one day, and I was like, hey man, I'm thinking about starting to shoot film. And he was really encouraging. So pulled out my dad's old 35mm camera, bought a few rolls of film off Amazon, and just started shooting. So
nice.
It's all been downhill from there.
Yeah. What was that first camera?
That was a Canon AE1 program. So.
You gotta do it. Classic.
Yeah.
I think my first experience buying film was on Amazon, and I was sketched out because, I'd read make sure your film's all cold stored and stuff. And I'm like, wait a second, I bought this from Amazon and I bet it's like been stored in some hot warehouse.
Yeah. Yeah.
So pre-expired film.
Yeah. Now I store all my film in the family refrigerator, and
Nice.
it's getting to the point where they're like, Nathan, you need your own fridge if you want to keep your film cold. Like, you're taking up too much space. So
yeah, I recently started taking up our fridge. I bought like this like thing to put in the back, and yeah, like we had my wife's family come in, and they were like, oh, so he's storing film in the fridge now. And I was like, yeah, you got to do it.
I think it's just a part of the whole film shooting thing. Like, part of the process is putting it in the fridge. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah. So you started off, so you got some tips right from some hyper professionals.
I did.
Big people right off the bat.
Yeah,
that's cool.
Pretty big opportunity.
Yeah.
So yeah, I just kind of like talked to him. I had been shooting digital for 2 years. I knew manual like the back of my hand. Like, I knew all of the basics of it. I just didn't know, like, I was kind of sketched out loading the first roll. I was like, this is probably going to look terrible. I was used to, I had a Sony A7 III, so like lightning quick autofocus, and now I'm here manually focusing for like the first time in 2 years. So
yeah.
But yeah, I sent in, basically I shot film from April 2019 until October that year, and then I just sent in all my film from the summer at once. So like,
whoa.
As summer went, I was like shooting rolls. I'm like, yeah, I don't even know if these are turning out. Like, I haven't seen any of my photos yet, but I'm just going for it. And I got those scans back, and I was like, dude, like this is it. This is it.
That's crazy to just go hardcore shooting a ton of rolls before you have even seen it.
Yeah.
I watched this one guy's video, and he was doing that with Super 8. So like he hadn't gotten any Super 8 footage back, and he shot like his whole summer and like even into the fall on Super 8, and it was like 3 or 4 rolls, and and he didn't even know what he shot, and he sent it in, which I don't know if you know anything about Super 8 developing, but it's really expensive.
Not cheap. Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like, I spent like $500 on getting these rolls developed. Yeah. And, but it was awesome. He made like the coolest video from it.
Yeah. Super 8 is something that haven't gotten into yet. Shouldn't get into yet with my current financial situation.
Yeah.
It might not be a good idea to try that yet, but
yeah, I tried a roll, and I love how it came out. But man, I think the roll was like $40, and then I paid $88 to get it developed and scanned. Yeah. And I was just like, oh my gosh. And I was like, it's so cool. I really need, because most of my stuff is video. Photography is actually something I'm growing into right now. But yeah, oh my gosh, I need a client to like want to do it.
Yeah. Just like, here, pay the cost up front, be my guinea pig, and like it'll most likely turn out super cool. Like, yeah.
Oh, we had a wedding that was like they did half of it this year, and they're going to do the other half of it next year. And so I shot half of it on a roll of Super 8, and it's like just chilling, waiting to finish. So it's this like, it's this waiting game, like you're saying.
Yeah,
for just sure.
Like it almost adds to like the fun in shooting, because like you're more willing to try new things when you haven't seen what it already looks like. It's like, well, since I've like maybe already tried focusing this way, like setting my settings this way, what happens if I change that up? And it just adds to the whole experience of like, when you get all the film back, there's such a variety instead of like one roll at a time.
Yeah. It's really interesting for sure. So tell me a little bit about your journey though. So you started that summer. So you said 2019 summer?
Yeah, that's when I started shooting film. So
you were shooting on your AE1. Yep. And then where did you move from there? Did you dive straight into medium? What did you go to?
No. So I basically stayed on the AE1 for the entire summer, I think. So obviously I picked that up like early in the spring, kind of rolled with it. And then in October, whenever I sent all my film and I was like, okay, I'm ready to invest in like the next step up. So I was at a film photography store in Columbus, and I saw they had like basically a student sale where you could buy an SLR and a 50 millimeter lens, and you get 5 rolls of film for $100. So I picked up a Canon A1, which is basically like the A1, but a little bit more like sleek in terms of usability and stuff. And literally rolled with the AE1, the A1, and then I picked up a K1000 somewhere along the line, and just rolled with all 3 of those until like July this year. So,
oh, wow. Yeah, nice. And then what'd you upgrade from there?
Well, I made a huge jump. So in July, I was like, I want to try medium format out just for fun. Like, I've never really experimented with film. I've been shooting black and white and color this whole time in just 35 millimeter. Let's try something new. Ordered a 645 off of eBay, like a Mamiya 645. Shot 1 roll through it, developed it that night, and there was like horrible spacing issues. Like there were frames overlap. There was like enough room for two or three pictures in between some of the photos. So immediately returned it and bought an RB67 like that same night that I started the return process. And I've just been shooting with the RB since then. So
okay, cool.
That was my kind of upgrade. And then 2 weeks ago, I just went full send, sold the A1, sold the K1000, and bought a Leica M6. So
nice.
I'm in it for the long run now. So,
yeah, you made the investment right there.
Yeah.
I don't even know how much do those things run.
A lot. They run a lot.
yeah, dude, that's awesome. I everybody tells me that I need to try them out. A couple weeks ago, I was talking to Jed on Film Friends, and he said he has one, and it's just like perfect for him. The images he gets from it are just incredible, and it's just like I'm like, I don't know if I could spend that much, but then like I was talking with him, like it's an investment towards like a fine piece of equipment. Like I've got a really expensive guitar because I'm a guitar player and I wanted to invest in that. And so like, that's what he was comparing it to that. And I really like gel with that. Like I used to not gel with that. I used to be like, no, there's no reason to spend that much. But I feel like, I don't know, after a little bit of time, I'm just like, maybe that is the right way to go. Or for people who really appreciate like high end and maybe it's not necessarily the image, but also the user ability, like the user like features behind it, as well as the build quality.
Yeah. Like I always compare, like when I first got this, I was comparing it to like basically you buy an old Mustang, like you could buy an '02 Civic and get from point A to point B. It's like using it, like you aren't going to want to go drive in your old Civic, like just drive and have fun. But like if you have an old Mustang, like some other old car, like you buy that car for the price, for the experience. You like use it for fun. It's like a luxury item. That's always what I've like kind of considered it in my mind. So
yeah, for sure. What lenses do you have for it?
So I'm starting simple. I have the Voigtlander 35, like 1.4, just basic. It works. At some point, maybe an upgrade to a Summicron, but don't see that happening in the near future. So yeah, I might try and convince Matt to let me use his Summicron like here and there, but probably won't end up buying one for myself.
Well, so talk about your relationship with Matt. So he was more of a mentor for you for a while, and then what happened where that you were able to switch and be on his team?
I like officially started working for him probably 3 weeks ago, like 4 weeks ago. That was like awesome. The official starting date. Let's see. I want to say I met him. So I obviously met him like a few times. Like we weren't really close friends. Like he's like a really genuine, awesome guy. So like he'd always talk to me if he saw me in roast, if he saw me around town. But then at some point in there, I don't know what it was. I think it was like I started working for a different company that he has close relations to. And so like obviously he would be working in the office sometimes with his photo work for that guy. And so like he'd see me around and he'd like make that connection of, oh, he's like in this kind of category of people now. And so then I started like reaching out to him. I'd be like, hey, I'd love to help with YouTube videos. Like, you don't even need to pay me for it. I'll literally just come shoot YouTube videos for the experience, like learn from you. And he didn't really like turn me down. He just never really was like, yeah, here's your chance until this year. And then he told me, he's like, literally because of that persistence, that's why I'm hiring you now. Like, instead of outsourcing, like I could have outsourced any other employee, but it was that persistence. And the reason he didn't like make the connection for me working for him until that point was because he wanted to be able to give me like some sort of return for my time and effort. He doesn't necessarily think like me working for him to basically mentor me was like a fair exchange for me. So he wanted it to be fair, pay me in cash and experience at the same time.
Yeah.
So that was kind of, he finally was at a point where he's like, I don't think I could grow anymore unless I start having someone do some of this stuff for me, because I just have too much on my plate.
Yeah, dude. I mean, what an awesome experience.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that's really cool. And that's really cool that he's shaping it that way, you know?
Yeah.
That
It's
it is
like,
going to be.
Yeah. It's one of those things where like up front, it's kind of like, well, I don't really understand that until you get to the end point. It's like, now it's all making sense. Like, everything's kind of coming together now.
What a fun opportunity too. I mean, you'll also get like, not only will you get the YouTube side of it, but you'll also get that photography side of it too.
Yeah, exactly. So
that's really cool.
Yeah.
And that's awesome to hire someone that will help edit and stuff too, that's also interested in the specific content that he's making. Yeah.
But like, it's really funny now because like all the videos that I edit for him, I see them in like my subscriptions box on YouTube. And I'll just like sit through them, even though I've literally sat through like 2-3 hours of piecing them together. Like, he's the one who runs the final check on them. So I never really sit down and watch it to enjoy it. I just like watch like the little section that I'm working on at a time. Okay, that's complete. Move on to the next section. Move on to the next section. And then I just send him all that. And he's like, these are the changes I want made, or this is great. Like, that's done. And then like I still am watching his videos on YouTube like I was before. So
that's awesome, man. That's really cool. And to have that much passion behind it too. I love that.
Yeah.
So Matt's a big influence for you. We've got Willem as a good influence for you. Who's some other big film photography influences for you?
That's a good question. I haven't really thought about that. There are a lot of like specifically film photographers that I like. I don't know where I draw my inspiration from. I've talked to a few people about this now. Like, I don't really draw inspiration from specific photographers. I see the style in which they shoot and I'll be like, ooh, that looks fun. Let me like try that, but with like my kind of twist on it. So like portraits, like Linus and his camera. I've seen like some of his really cool portraits with like the projector and that sort of thing. So I've tried like some film portraits that didn't turn out nearly as good as his, but I tried for it. Obviously Matt with his like strong compositions, like with leading lines and high contrast, black and white. I've kind of adopted that shooting style for just like everyday walking around town. But I don't know where my big inspiration comes from. I just follow a lot of other creators and enjoy what they create. Like,
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, I love Linus's stuff too. I think it's fun to see somebody else's shoot and be like, you know, maybe I want to try doing something like that.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's definitely where I draw a lot of my stuff, is like saving people's poses or something like that. Because in my photo video, I'm doing a lot of weddings and stuff. I don't do too much style shoots or anything like that. So trying to pull from people's style shoots, trying to pull that in, trying to get some of the poses and get some of the inspiration for how people can stand in certain environments and stuff. So, and I got started doing all this back with Peter McKinnon. Like basically I was getting into photo video while Peter McKinnon was starting his channel. And I was like, dude, he's doing super interesting things. It's basically like photography tutorials that were really cool. Now his stuff is more like vlogs, and I don't even watch it anymore because I'm like, this is like not even educational anymore.
Too mainstream.
Yeah, it went super mainstream. But like,
which is cool. Yeah, it's really cool for him that like he's found that kind of area, but it isn't like the educational like tutorials, rundowns, that sort of thing.
Yeah, so. But I mean, back then, and I mean, even my semi-lighting scenario here, it's not the best because I'm in like a nursery room right now. I'm trying to make it not look like a nursery. But yeah, like, but even this is like, it's all like from his early tutorials and just like that inspiration, like really captured me back then. So if you've got to stick with a film stock, what is your jam right now?
My jam right now?
Yeah.
So I'm gonna say one for color and one for black and white.
All right, let's do it.
I've been absolutely loving Pro 400H.
Okay.
I just love the colors. Close second is Gold 200.
Okay.
Like Pro 400H is obviously like a way more expensive film than Gold 200, but like I just love the ways that the greens render, the skin tones render. Fun fact: I've never shot Portra 400 in 35mm.
Yeah.
Hopefully gonna keep that streak going. Like that would be like my life accomplishment is I never shot Portra in the M6.
Yeah.
Then for black and white, HP5 has been my go-to for ever since I started shooting black and white. But I'm about to betray Matt because I'm looking at switching to Tri-X as my everyday carry instead of HP5. So
nice.
For now, I'll say 400H and HP5, but it's probably going to be 400H and Tri-X here soon.
Yeah.
So.
That's awesome. You're betraying him. You're pulling it out.
I am. Yeah.
That's so funny you say that about Portra 400 in 35. I haven't shot Portra 400 in 35 until recently, and I've been shooting for I guess since December. But I jumped to medium format so quickly. Like I only shot Portra 160 and 35mm, and then I jumped to medium, and then I've shot so much Portra 400 and my medium format. And then now I'm like, oh, I haven't even shot this on 35 yet.
Yeah.
But I actually personally have been really hating 35 recently because my flatbed scanner is sucking at scanning it.
Dude. Yeah. So I might have made a mistake with this M6. So when I first got it, I went out, shot 2 rolls. One of HP5, one of Portra 160. And so I got home and I was like, I want to see if like this camera works, make sure everything's working fine, like no holes in the shutter curtain or anything. So I developed the HP5 and I scan it. And the scans from my V600 were so bad that even the shots that I nailed focus on, like that's a big learning curve, rangefinder, like I missed focus on half the shots. But even on the shots where I did hit focus, they didn't look in focus in the scans because of the V600.
Yeah.
So then like the roll of Portra 160 and then 5 other rolls that I had shot through it, I sent out to the darkroom and I got them back. And I'm like, these are beautiful. Like these scans are beautiful. Yeah. And so now like I literally have 12 other rolls that I've shot through the M6 in this past week that I'm like, I don't even want to develop and scan these at home anymore, man. Like,
it's a waste. I am gonna have to get a 35mm film scanner and then shoot it with DSLR. I'm trying to keep things on the cheap, so I was like looking at the Negative Lab stuff, and then not the like Negative Supply, and I think I'm just gonna like. There's a guy that modeled that, and you can buy it. Well, you can take the 3D scan of it. And you can get a 3D printer version of it. Yeah. I don't have a 3D printer, so I have to like pay someone to 3D print it for me. But I'm thinking about getting that because I got 24 megapixel cameras. And I feel like I could do a better job than the stupid V600. That thing's it's making me mad because
it's making me mad too, man.
I spend so much time with it, and I'm just like, and then just like going through and editing it too. I'm done. I'm probably gonna go back and rescan like everything I have on 35.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I'm ready. Yeah.
Yeah. That's one of the things is why I got into medium format is like during quarantine, I basically entirely stopped like shooting film. So from March, whenever COVID started, like all my income stopped, and that was before I had like a whole bunch of film stocked up. I would like buy 5-10 rolls at a time. So I was like, I can't afford to like keep buying film to shoot. So I like switched to digital basically from April until just like 3 or 4 months ago when I started getting back into film.
Mm-hmm.
But I had all the film that I had shot already that was waiting to get developed. And so instead of blowing like $600-$700 at a lab, I spent like $200 on all the supplies, developed at home, and was like crazy disappointed with the photos.
Yeah.
And now I'm realizing it's because of that scanner that like I wasn't happy with any of my film work.
Yeah, so. I've got a scanning video I've been dying to do, but it's hard to tell people, hey, buy this V600 when I'm not happy with it. So like a lot of people are like, how are you scanning? And I'm like, I want to tell you, but at the same time, I'm fed up with it. Like it goes, and even on medium format, I feel like it's crushing my grain. Because when you zoom in, it's like weird digital noise, even at like a high scan resolution.
Yeah.
It looks fine on Instagram, but I want to like
that's the thing is like once it's on my phone, it looks okay, but it's like I want to view. Like I view all my favorite photos on my computer or I print it. And one thing I've learned is what looks good on a phone but doesn't look on a computer will not look good printed. So I refuse to print any of my film work until I have the scanning figured out.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's just either go on DSLR scanning with the best DSLR you can find or sending the ones that you love in. I think another video I was thinking about doing was like testing out a bunch of labs and seeing like what a bunch of these labs can do for me. Because I want to start shooting film for weddings and I'm definitely not going to develop that myself. So I want to find a lab that like can kind of match what I'm trying to go for.
I have like a very strong loyalty to the darkroom like right off the bat because of like working for Matt, and then also like I've met Trev. He's a super cool guy. Yeah. So like I love the darkroom.
Okay.
I sent 2 rolls out to Linus in his film lab, but like there are so many labs that I see people recommend. Yeah. And I'm like, whenever someone asks me where to get their film developed, I always like prioritize the darkroom, and then I say here are some other options if you need more options, like these are some that other big people use. So
yeah, I've heard of the darkroom. I got to try them out for sure.
Yeah.
Maybe that'll be on my list. I want to send it to like 5 different labs and like send it off, have them scan it, and then give me like a flat and then like whatever color profiles that they want to do on it. And then, I don't know, try to develop a lab profile too. And then do that for like a ton of labs. So
that would be super cool.
Yeah. Well, let's go into diving into what is like one of your like most favorite film projects that you've worked on, shooting or anything that you've done.
Well, I have one that I technically haven't finished yet.
Okay.
So obviously like I have my zine out that was all shot on digital.
Okay.
I'm kind of in the process of, I don't want to say recreating that, like those exact photos, but I'm basically continuing that project, shooting more, and now I've switched it entirely to medium format, basically. So like I'll go out, find new compositions of the smokestack, that sort of thing with film. And it's been really funny to like kind of work with that after working for like with the X100V for that project for so long, because like I'm used to, all right, if I can underexpose this by like 3 stops, it's okay. Like because of all the dynamic range that raw photos have versus like with film, you have to be so much more precise, like with everything. So that's been a really fun project to kind of like, as I'm developing those photos and scanning them in, like seeing how they compare to the digital photos I've already shot, like all the differences they have between digital and film, and like just that whole project is one that I've really been enjoying shooting for recently.
That's awesome.
But other than like that, I haven't shot anything that's like film specific. Like I went to California. I shot a ton of film out there. Like that was a blast. I probably went through more roles in a week than I went through like in the previous 6 months. But like that was really fun. But I haven't sat down and like planned a project. Like let's shoot all these exact like photos. Like haven't done it. So
yeah. So on Instagram, let's find an image and go do some background, little storytelling on it. Are there any favorite ones that you've got?
Yes.
That you posted recently?
Okay, yeah, I have 2 film ones.
Okay, drop them on me.
Favorites. All right, so I have this set.
Okay.
So that was special for 2 reasons. That was my first time shooting color medium format. So like that was my first roll through the RB67 like ever. And that was my first time developing color film at home. And I was like sitting at my computer like these probably won't be good. The scans come through. They're still in their negative form, so I can't see what they are. And like as soon as I applied Negative Lab Pro, I was like, whoa. Like that's good.
Yeah. The colors in that first one are with the cactuses is amazing.
That was like I probably like ran a few laps around my room like because I was just so excited. And then there's another post. So this one from San Francisco. It's like a big carousel. Yeah. So that was a roll of expired Kodak Max 800 that it was like I think it was a 24 exposure roll, which I had never shot. So I was just kind of that was my warming up as I like was in San Francisco. Like we had just gotten there for the day, so I was kind of shooting out the window, and then I finished up the last few shots as soon as we were in, and like immediately switched to like I think I threw in Gold 200 first. But that roll was one that I kind of like shoved off to the side. I was like, yeah, it's just a warm up. It'll be practice, like whatever. The shots will be okay. Yeah. I developed them and scanned them, and I was like, these are some of my favorite photos from San Francisco that I got like on that trip. Like, I like those more than some of the actual photos, but like I like what I considered the warm up more than some of the photos that I spent a lot of time composing and working on. Like, yeah, I love them. There's just like that graininess. It's obvious that, you know, something's old in it. Like, you know, you can see the sprockets on there just all faded. Like it looks like that's a little expired, but like in the best way. And you've got this purple hue on one of them. It's so cool. I absolutely love it. And there's a sense of like exploration in it too. You know what I mean? Like, not like a tourist exploration, but just like awed by, I mean, had you been to San Francisco at this point? I had, but I had never. So that was like, I usually go out to California on trips. I've only been doing photography for 4 years. And the last time we went out to California before this, when we were in San Francisco, it was just like, I was very, very focused on like the tourist shots. So I didn't kind of like explore all the like suburban areas or anything like that. I like basically stuck to, let's go from location A, drive to location B without stopping anywhere in between, and like that'll be our shots. And so I got back and like they were very clean, sterile shots versus like these kind of show I feel like more character in San Francisco. So I love them, dude. Thanks for sharing both of those with me. Yeah, that's awesome. I'm seeing if I could find a third one, but I don't think, because everything's digital now. Like, okay, all my recent posts have been digital. Yeah. So. Yeah. Well, that's 2 cool sessions, dude. And man, I borrowed an RZ, and I know that feeling of the RZ or the RB, just like holding these big monster cameras. I gotta pick myself up one. Well, before we go, do you have any tips or tricks for either new people or just, I know that you haven't been shooting too long, but I feel like you've got some wisdom in these images that you've been putting down. So
anything that you want to share about for new people shooting or just like in film photography in general?
Yes. So
yes, drop it.
Don't be afraid to experiment like at all. Shoot above box speed, shoot below box speed. Always document your settings on each photo, because especially if you're coming from digital, where you can just see the metadata and they're like, oh, those are all the settings I used. You don't get that on film, obviously. So like, look at your frame counter number, write that number down, write down your shutter and like your aperture, and like go from there. And then when you see the results, it will be like, oh, so that's what these things did. Mm-hmm. And then I'm going to go against what a lot of people advise with film. If you can afford it, shoot like crazy. Like people are like, be very intentional with your film, be very specific with your film. And I think you can still be intentional and be specific, but that doesn't mean you have to be conservative. So you can shoot as much film as you want and just like blow through 2-3 rolls in a single day of shooting, because it gives you, at least upfront, that experience of learning new things, trying new things, instead of, I can only try these because I know it will turn out. If it doesn't turn out, it's no big deal. Just try again. Yeah. So
I definitely want to echo that one. Yeah. I think that's how I've gotten to the point I am now, by shooting so many rolls. Like I've already gone through like 3 sets of chemicals. I think I've like extended those chemicals to like 30 rolls. So I think I've shot like 90 rolls this year alone. So I mean, developing at home, you can save a lot of money, but obviously, but we just talked about how the V600 sucks. So they're not maybe I'll go get them rescanned, but yeah, I mean, you can just like, you just get way more experience and way more comfort. And now I feel like I could go shoot this on a professional shoot. So
exactly. And then the other thing that I didn't even think about this. I think it was the darkroom that originally posted, and I saw it and I was like, that's a crazy good idea. Since it's like 36 exposures a roll on 35 millimeter, make your first photo writing down what film stock you used, like what you're rating it at, what camera it's in, what day it is. And then it's like a physical photo you see when you get your scans back or when you're scanning at home. And you see that and you can say, oh, I know exactly what roll this is. Because like you think over and over, you're like, I'll know what roll this is. I'll know what stock I shot. I know what I pushed it to, until you get all your scans back. And it's just this jumble of photos and you're like, what's going on here? Yeah. So like definitely start your rolls off with that shot. You can get creative with it. Write it in the dust on a window, write it in a marker on like a whiteboard, write it like really anywhere, chalk on a sidewalk. Just have that photo somewhere on the roll. It's better to start with it, but you can do it as the last photo in the middle, just so that you can like kind of figure out where you're at in terms of like looking through your scans.
Yeah. That's an awesome tip, definitely. Well, Nathan, thank you so much for joining me on Film Friend Fridays.
Thanks for having me, man.
Yeah, and I hope to talk to you soon and keep encouraging each other on Instagram.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, dude. All right, man. Well, see ya.
See ya.
Guys, thank you so much for watching Nathan's interview. He's an awesome kid and he's doing a lot of cool things in film photography. I'm so happy for him to be working for Matt Day. I think that's an awesome life experience for him. If you like this interview, go find him on Instagram at nathan.hirschler. Links in the bio. And if you like the show, definitely subscribe to this YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, hit the little bell, and find me on Instagram at Film Friend Fridays, or one we'll call my personal one, where I post all my film stuff. And definitely, like I was saying earlier, stick around. There's going to be more content coming. It's going to be a little bit slower for a couple months and then ramp back up to like even more. So I just want to thank you so much for watching up to this point. There's been a lot of great support, and you guys rock, and I hope to see you in the next video. Peace.